Sorry. It's a pleasure to introduce to you Stefano Lucarelli, who's a professor in Bergamo. He will be talking about a new book. This one is in Italian, but of course he will talk in English about the economics of war. More or less, Stefano will give us a general introduction for around 1 hour, and then we would have hopefully a little bit of discussion. Stefano, thanks a lot for being with us.
Thanks to you and your classroom for the attention you will have for me. If you want, I may start.
Yes, please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. In this book, I recount the times of three different Greek gods. It is obviously a metaphor for describing our epoch. The times of Ares, the times of Hermes, and the times of Pan. That is the long ages of humanity, the changes in conflicts and human relationships as mediated by the forms of economic competition. And the ancient Greek myths are thus a pretext for explaining in depth the interconnections between international monetary policy, or it could better say international monetary disorders, protectionism, foreign investment by multinationals, financial speculation, and international politics. And my book concludes with a discussion of what the conditions for peace, the economic condition for peace might be in the form of a new Bretton Woods. And I consider a very important starting point the International Clearing Union proposed by John Maynard Keynes at the time of Bretton Woods at the end of the Second World War. The time of Ares is the time when war becomes the main horizon of political relations. How can we analyze these kind of things? The condition that favor war tensions can be understood, in my vision, starting from the categories learned by political economy and moreover by the critique of political economy. Indeed, I discuss in a critical way the tendency to interpret what we are living by using the category of geopolitics. Indeed, I try to prove that geopolitics is a sort of ideology that facilitates the conflictual way to read international relationship. It is a branch of social sciences that is moreover used by military approach to the international politics. International relations, in my vision, should be reinterpreted within a recent debate about the possibility to describe what Marx called laws of motion of the economic system. The relationship between international trade, the tendency towards a deregulated competition that leads to a centralization of capital and a centralization of the decision about the technological progress The protectionism and military spending are then investigated empirically. I just show you some passages of these empirical exercises. And one of the most relevant theses of my book is that the time of Hermes, that is the god of trade, precedes the times of Ares. Indeed, trade based on deregulated competition and based on the free movement of capital can exacerbate clashes between countries and can provoke protectionist responses that lead to a conflictual relationship between countries. And in this reasoning, I propose a stop to discuss again the rules of international trade, but moreover the regulation of international monetary system. What I need also to stress is the fact that in my scientific community, I am an economist, wars are usually considered to be largely independent of the way the economic system works. They are generally thought to depend on a sort of barbaric residue in the style of governance of policymakers who are the part of the policymaker that are considered as enemies of the democratic order. Valuable lessons can be learned from the history of political economy in this regard. For example, Adam Smith, the father traditionally of the political economy, like most Scottish alignment thinkers, for example, David Hume, was convinced that the spread of international trade, the diffusion of the free market, and the abolition of protectionism would be an important antidote to reduce geopolitical tension, and by means of the free market, this could lead to ongoing international conflicts that were favored by mercantilist policies and moreover by protectionists. Could you please go on to the other slide, please? Indeed, looking at the 20th century, it is possible to see a significant relationship between protectionism and wars. This is a figure that I took from an important international economics handbook written by Fenstra and Taylor. And we may see that 2 world wars were preceded by a considerable increase in the average world tariffs. Trends of this line that show average world tariffs in the period from 1860 to 2010, these trends are especially before First World War and Second World War, are similar to a hook. The periods when tariff decrease, this one and this one, are periods that happen after the big growth of tariffs, and they precede the starting of the wars. This little decrease in the 5 year before the explosion of the conflict, describe the alliances aimed at war economy. For example, before the First World War, the so-called Triple Alliance. Among the various tendencies that we may consider, we should try to read this phenomena also to show that there's a sort of endogenous strength that characterize capitalist competition. My thesis is that protectionism, that we may describe as the increasing of average tariffs worldwide, is depending on the capitalist functioning of free market. Things can be seen in a richer and more insightful light if conflicts are related to one of the main laws of motion proposed by Karl Marx, the tendency towards centralization of capital. And please, Carlo, you may pass to the other slide. Among the various tendencies of capitalism identified by Karl Marx, this law is perhaps the one considered most disturbing in the field of mainstream social sciences. The mechanics of capitalist centralization are taken to their extreme consequences. A colossal problem emerges in the long run: the potential incompatibility between capitalist regime, democratic order, and international order. Indeed, examining this law of tendency is crucial in order to anticipate the dynamics of the system, the hierarchies that assert from time to time within the system, and also the warlike impulses that redefine hierarchies. According to Marx, this trend towards centralization is the result of a struggle between competing capitals for market share. Economic competition generates winners and losers, leads to the expropriation of capitalist by the capitalist. And although the capitalist production sees companies as competing with each other as producers of independent goods, and capitalist competition normally describe itself as, I quote Marx here, mutual repulsion of many individuals' capitals, it is possible to detect a tendency towards, and I use again Marxian expression, concentration of already formed capitals. Thus, the overcoming of their individual autonomy lead to a transformation of many smaller capitals into a few larger ones. And this kind of movement may be also measured. Could you pass to the other slide, please? as a merger from the scientific research that I did in collaboration with other scholars, for example, Emiliano Brancaccio, Raffaele Giammetti. One of the salient features of the international economic system over the last 25 years has been the drive towards capital centralization within the world's major economies. And this trend has developed in parallel with the growing polarization between creditor and debtor countries. As I try to argue in the next part of my speech, the protectionist pressures and tendencies toward new kind of sanction, a sort of preventive sanctions that are defining a new international disorder characterized by growing conflict between Western blocs and Eastern blocs seem to be developing endogenously, starting precisely from a particular configuration of capital centralization. After achieving a certain consolidation within international production specialization, the capital attributable to creditor countries began to acquire or to try to control the capital attributable to debtor countries, thereby breaking the balance of the financial and military circuit that has dominated international relations at least since 90s until 2022. In order to demonstrate these dynamics, we must, as I anticipated, a precise measurement criterion applicable to the centralization of capital. And we propose to use a net control. So this kind of measure is derived from the network analysis. We can imagine all the companies in each specific financial market as a single nodes of a net, and the ability to control by acquiring shares of that companies the strategy that they may start is exactly measurable by this kind of index. In the recent years, various scholars have attempted to investigate complex networks that may describe the ownership and the direct and indirect control between companies in the specific financial markets. For my research, there's an important study by Vitali Glatfelder and Battistone, published in 2011. And this kind of analysis examines the topology of the ownership structure of over 40,000 transnational companies in order to provide an investigation into the concentration of ownership and control at global level. And this study defines net control as the intrinsic value of capital controlled by reconstructing all the direct and indirect paths of shareholdings. And this measure should be also filtered according to a minimum shareholding threshold that corresponds to the minimum package of shares that is necessary in order to effective control the strategical decision about production or about the way to move in the market. Also, in order to use the same notion to measure the centralization of capital during the period we need to consider, we have to use a bigger data set, and we use the AICON data set that provides data on stock companies, and above all allows the reconstruction of ownership links. The nodes of the network that describe the agents participating in the capital of more 5,000 companies can be divided in private, public companies, investment funds, but also participation by states, and the connection are the respective ownership relationship. What we find, could you pass to the other slide, please? We may describe the tendency of the net control. You may see that in the vertical axis, we have the percentage of shareholders that control, okay, at least the 80% of the total capital in the specific market. So we may see, for example, that in the United States from 1998 to 2019, the percentage of shareholders that may effective indirectly or directly control the 80% of the market, of the financial market, pass from 3% to a number that is less than 1%. This means that there's a decreasing of the number of capitalists that actually control the USA market of shares. What happens in another country? After I will explain why we decide to concentrate on these two countries. The China, the Popular Republic of China is also characterized by a decreasing net control from 13% to the same value that characterized net control in United States. And this is a way to measure the tendency towards centralization of capital, because centralization of capital means exactly the fact that a lower number of capitalists may control the markets, and moreover the ownership and the strategic decision of the specific companies that dominate the markets. What is also relevant to consider is the fact that United States and China represents explicitly the two bigger actors that represent the relevant characteristics of the international political relationship. Indeed, the United States may be considered the big debtors. In the year of globalization, the amount of external debt from United States to other countries is increasing. This is obviously also a consequence of the fact that United States economy has been characterized by outsourcing of the industrial production, and but this leads to a reorganization of the international production in which countries like China emerges as a country that obtains bigger and bigger surplus of trade balance that are obviously linked to a financial results, a positive financial results. In this view, China and the other surpluses countries that obtain surplus in the balance of trade are also the creditors of United States and other deficit countries, because the United States need, in a sense, that China and other surplus countries finance their economy by sustaining the possibility to finance the big debt that they are accumulating by obtaining increasing deficit in the balance of trade. And it is interesting the fact that the centralization of capital is also related with this increasing financial polarization. Okay, the United States and above all China are clearly pushing for a further narrowing of the already limited circle of large shareholders who hold controlling stakes in capital. And it seems that is mainly these two giants of the world economy that are driving the general trends towards capitalist centralization. The process of capital centralization is accompanied by an imbalance in credit and debt relations between different national capitalist systems. You may go on the other slide. Please, could you also pass to the other one? I came back. Okay. Here is an Italian language, but I want just to stress some tendencies. You may read in the first column the name of the different countries. There's an order of these countries, and these orders respect the amount of military expenditures in 2023. This is our data from CIPRI, and you may see the amount of military expenditure in 2000 and in 2023. In the fourth column computes the percentage change from 2000 to 2023. As you may see, with the exception of Italy, all the countries are characterized by an increasing value of the military expenditure. Moreover, China is characterized by more than 500% increase. And it is very interesting, the fact that all these countries may be divided, as I did in the last column, between debtors and creditors by computing the foreign net position, that you may imagine it as the difference between capital inflows and capital outflows. So the negative sign demonstrates a situation of indebtment, and the positive sign a situation of financing role for exactly in order to finance on the debt of the bigger debtors. As you may see, the two giants are United States as debtor country, but as you may see also the United Kingdom that we have here is characterized by a negative net foreign financial position, but also France, and they may represent a big part of the Western countries. And if you see the creditors part of the history, you have China, but you have also Russia, but you have also Saudi Arab, but you have also Iran, for example, that are part of the new developing economies in this period, but at the same time are also countries that are in the United States and in the Western countries' vision too independent, especially in the decision related to technological progress. And there isn't a real trust between the two groups of countries. But what is also relevant about the tendency of decentralization of the capital is the fact that this kind of tendency is not limited to the internal financial market. Indeed, especially the creditor countries are characterized by companies participated by state that try to acquire Western country, especially in the field of information and communication technology, of the high manufacturing industries, and also in the raw materials companies. And in the book, I also describe some example of this aspect of decentralization of capital. For example, in 2013, we may quote the acquisition of Smithfield Foods by Shanghai International Holding, and again the acquisition of another Western company, AMC, by Vanda Group. and in 2060s, General Electric's appliances has been participated in by Haier, another important Chinese company. In Europe, we have also other examples that are very relevant. For example, the acquisition of KUKA by Midea in 2016, and the big investment of the Chinese Tencent in Spotify in 2017. And regarding the Italian case, we have to also to stress the acquisition of Pirelli by Sinochem and ChemChina in 2015. You may imagine that this tendency to control part of the Western economy may provoke some political tensions. Indeed, a story that began especially with the entering of China in WTO in 2001. The story that began, we may say, in 2001 with the idea that Western companies could, in a sense, exploit the low cost of labor in a new economic system as China was, didn't lead to the aims that was that were in the mind of the Western policymakers. Indeed, China started to build an increasing relevant role in the global market by controlling the global chain of value, especially in the more technological and research-based sectors, but also by controlling the extraction of the raw materials that are relevant in order to produce the chips or the microchips and the other software, but also the new infrastructure for the green transition that represents precisely the new frontiers of technological progress. And this is a situation that is very distant from the desires by United States and Western countries when they, in a sense, invite China to be part of the WTO. Okay, you can come back to just to conclude. So yes, could you come back on the table, please? Just to conclude, what we may say, we see that when we have a photograph of global financial imbalances that is described by the last column. Okay, but what happened? And could you come on the next slide, please? Okay, here we are correlating, in a sense, two different variables. The graph that we have, the figure that we have in the top part of the slide, represent the trend from 2000 to 2001 of military expenditures in United States and in China. And as you may see, in both the cases, you have two increasing trends of military expenditures. What I want to stress is the fact that by also considering the other trends of the net IIP, that is exactly the financial position, the net financial position excluded the gold of United States and China. We may say that from 2000 to 2001, we have that the distance, the gap between the USA net IIP, that is the clearer line, and the China net IIP is increasing. So higher is the gap that measure the in a sense the financial dependency of United States versus China, but also versus other creditor countries that that are also linked with China, especially inside the BRICS Plus alliance. Higher is this gap, higher is the increase of military expenditure for both these countries. What does it mean? In my interpretation, it means that this financial imbalance is a way also to measure the propensity towards a conflict between these two big actors of policy relations, and this may be also measured by the accumulation of military expenditures. Okay, you can come back to the this slide. Okay, this these figures is one of the main variables that, in a sense, may prepare the military tensions. As I said before, we see in the history that when average tariffs increase, then we have the two bigger conflicts in our history. Another variable that we may consider also is the amount of sanctions. Okay, what we have shown until now is that, in a sense, the time of Hermes, the times of globalization, the time of deregulation, may open the time of Ares. But in the meantime, we have that the tensions are not just related with the increasing amount of military expenditures, but also with a sort of conflictual trait that may be measured by protectionism that is moreover used by the big debtor, United States, in our story. Indeed, protectionism by USA that has a longer story than the story that media are nowadays telling us. Indeed, the protectionism by Trump is deeply connected with the tariffs that were introduced already in the second mandate by Obama. They continue in the first mandate by Donald Trump, and they continue also during Biden mandate. And sanctions trend may show this. Sanctions indeed are becoming increasingly popular around the world, and their use is growing rapidly, not only by United States, that is the biggest proponent, but also by other countries, including including the European Union. Sanctions are usually distinguished from the imposition of tariffs or trade duties, which in principle are traditionally used to defend national economic interest. And in recent years, sanctions have most often been applied with reference to defined rules such as anti-dumping rules. However, nowadays, the difference between sanction and traditional protectionist policies is becoming increasingly difficult to make. With regard to the aim of application of sanctions imposed by the United States, it is interesting to note that financial measures have become increasingly popular over time. The figure shows that the sanctions enforced each year by area of application from United States to other countries. It should be noted that the movement of capital, goods and people has become more important over decades. The sanction imposed in order to control movement of capitals, movement of goods, and movement of people. Meanwhile, sanction on arms and military equipment seems to have fallen over the last 15 over the 15 years from 2005 until 2020. There is a reason to believe that the intensification of sanctions can also be included among the indications supporting the emergence of a more general dynamic according to which, with globalization and its crisis, a new global order must be achieved, even resorting to new military strategy. And I want also to propose to you to pay attention to an important discourse by the ex-US Treasury Secretary, the Biden Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen. This speech was done after the Russian aggression in Ukraine. What are the words by Janet Yellen, the Treasury Secretary in 2022, April 2022? Our goal, United States goal, but also in a sense Western countries' goal, but also in the light of what I am telling you, our goal in the sense of debtors' countries' goal should be to achieve free but secure trade. Free trade but secure trade. Let's do it with countries we know we can count on. Promoting, this is the new word that it is very relevant in my vision in interpreting the international relationship today, promoting friend-shoring of supply chains relying on a large number of trusted countries so that we can guarantee market access, we reduce the risk to our economy. And again, I tend to see friend-shoring as a group of partners with whom we feel in tune with our geopolitics. And this is, in my vision, very relevant because the increasing number of tariffs, but also the increasing number of sanctions in the form of preventing sanctions. Sanction, for example, related to some attempt to enter in new kind of ICT markets that cannot be explicitly a way to be aggressive towards a country, but by a very complex juridical way, the President of United States tried to show that may be a danger for Western countries. So this kind of new forms of protectionism not only prepare in a sense the ground for other kind of international conflicts, but also are a way to redefine the trade boundaries and to obtain this new situation that is, in a sense, a revolution inside the globalization that in the Janet Yellen words we may define as friend-shoring. It seems appropriate to frame the adoption of sanction and friend-shoring within a series of more general trends which revolve around growing use of protectionist trade and financial policies worldwide, a longer-term phenomenon that we are living as a big global disorder and that produce, in a sense, a new kind of geopolitical situation. So I think that we may show to the class these geopolitical consequences. So could you pass to other slide, please? Another one, another, and another one. Okay. First of all, you know, I told you that the globalization after 2020 was characterized by an increasing power, economic power, that we may see in China. China is the country that is the creditor country par excellence by measuring the amount of federal fund bonds from United States that China control, but it's also the country that used the surplus in order to try to acquire the control to Western companies, but also use this amount of resources in order to control the market of the future by also try to redefine new international relations in the world. One of the most relevant proof of this is the Belt and Road Initiative. As you may see, the Belt and Road Initiative, the Silk Road, is divided into projects. The first one is a project that start from the heart of China. It is a series of infrastructure to connect the ASEAN countries, Turkey, Moscow, Russia, and the northern part of Europe by connecting Moscow to Rotterdam. This is a set of projects that provide infrastructures in order to facilitate the possibility to economic collaboration, the ability to have raw materials as the traditional raw materials, but also the new kind of raw materials that are necessary in the perspective of Europe to realize what in 2020 Europe announced as the New Deal of Europe, of European Union, the next generation EU, with the idea of a transition towards a green economy, with the idea of a new digitalization of the European economy by using Eastern technology. That's the point. That's another part of the Belt and Road Initiative that is a marine part, is the seaside part, from the southern of the China towards Indonesia, and after in India, and after by coming inside the Suez Channel, the Red Sea and the Suez channels, coming towards the Pireo port and the Mediterranean countries, and after this marine part of the Silk Road is reconnected with the continental part of the Belt and Road Initiative in another important European country, that is Rotterdam. Asia, Africa, Europe. Europe, in this geopolitical order, is part of a Eastern economic project that from the economic perspective is really convenient, and it is in a sense the only way to realize what in 2020 was announced as Next Generation EU. Could you pass to the other slide, please? Could you go on? No, there's another one before it. Yes, this. As you may see here, I show inside the same picture a figure that represents the country in Africa that are characterized by different kind of conflicts. And as you may see, part of this country, as Sudan, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia, are countries that are partners of the Maritime Silk Road Initiative. And I also insert the picture that show the territories of Ukraine that are interested by the Russian-Ukraine conflict. What I want to stress is that inside the political narrative that I tried to tell you until now, this kind of conflict should be related with the increasing conflictuality that Western countries express towards the centralization of capital that are, in a sense, connected with the new idea of globalization that was born and was realized inside the Belt and Road Initiative progress. Indeed, I have no time, obviously, now to completely justify this thesis, but regarding Russian-Ukraine conflict, it exploded in 2022 in February, as you know, but the international tensions was born at least in 2014, and from 2014 to 2022, the role of European diplomacy was at least ambiguous and could be one of the elements that contribute to the escalation towards the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But in the consequences of this kind of conflicts are the interruption of the process of economic integration of the BRICS countries with European countries. And it could be also seen by passing to the next slide. In this slide, you may see the EU trade in goods with Russia from 2021 to 2025, the imports and export from European Union are obviously decreasing, especially the imports, and these are for the big part imports of energy, and it also leads European Union, and especially Germany and Italy, to close a contract until 2030 to acquire, in order to substitute the energy that these countries obtain by Russia from United States in the form of shale gas that is characterized by a price that is 4 times higher than the price that characterized the contract between the European countries and Russia. And the other part of the slide is more detailed and represent the EU trade with China by group of trade. As you may see, you have here the imports that are in blue and the export that are in yellow. And as you may see, after 2022, each market, for example, energy, for example, machinery and vehicle, chemicals, are characterized by a shock that reduce the integration with China. We can come to the conclusion of my speech that I may titled From Ares to Pan. Pan is the god of trauma. Is the god, the ancient Greek god who lead us to the roots of the evil by deepening our real nature. But this is the starting point to take care of our humanity and to reform our behaviors, our institution. Pan, it is also in the ancient Greek mythology, the god that connect Eastern and Western countries. It is the god that open the travel of another god, Dionysus, that is the Greek god that came towards India. And Pan is the first character that opened this big travel that leads Dionysus from west to east. Is the god of trauma, is the possibility to take into care our propensity to conflict with the world and to stop in order to rebuild our way to live. In my narrative, and you can come to the other slide, that is the last one, Carlo, please. This archetype represented by Pan could be described by a specific historical event. That is the way to rebuild international institutions after the Second World War. Every historical handbook explains the big role that had the Yalta Conference. That is the place in which Churchill, Stalin, and the representative of United States, if I remember well, was Eisenhower, redefine the geopolicy, the geopolitical order. But rarely historical books tell to pupils that this conference is just one part of the coin. The other part of the coin was the Bretton Woods Conference. It is another important part in order to rebuild institutions. It's the conference in which the countries discuss the new economic, monetary, and financial systems. So economists should know that the post-war international economic system, the gold exchange standard, the exchange rate between currencies pegged to the dollar and no longer to gold, as established at Bretton Woods, arose from an original sin, making a national currency, the dollar, the international reserve currency. As we know as economists, that system was suspended in 71, in August 71, unilaterally by then President Nixon, American President Nixon, in order to create a system of flexible exchange rate in which the acceptance of the dollar as an international reserve currency and also as a currency that may, in a sense, pay definitely each kind of debt, was no longer based on economic reasons, but on political reason, or if you prefer, also in the light of my speech, on power relations. These are the main reasons for the tendency towards global imbalances, which under certain conditions can lead to profound financial and commercial tensions, favored by financial deregulation, and even result, in my vision, in actual wars. And my very last part of the speech, as we should explain to our students, John Maynard Keynes was aware of this scene and attempted unsuccessfully to implement another plan in Bretton Woods, the proposal for an international credit union. The proposal, in Keynes' word, is to establish a monetary union based on an international bank currency called, for example, Bancor. The central banks of all member states and also non-members would open accounts with it, through which they would be able to pay their respective foreign balances according to the parities of their currencies in terms of this international currency, the Bancor. Countries with a favorable balance of payments vis-à-vis the rest of the world would find themselves in possession of a credit account within the clearing union, while those with an unfavorable balance would have a debt account. Appropriate measure would be necessary to prevent indefinite accumulation of both credits and debits. To be creditor is not a merit. It is just a concause of financial imbalances in Keynes' mentality. An international payment system in which no one has an incentive to accumulate perpetual credit balances and avoid the financial imbalances related to the increasing debt position and increasing credit position would protect the world from protectionism tendencies, protectionism reactions, and presence of a true and the presence of a real international currency based on Keynes' plan would prevent the country that issues the international reserve currency, the United States, from being destined for a growing trade deficit and thus the need to attract financing from the rest of the world. An alternative program should first emphasize that the economic conditions for peace necessary require a redesign of international monetary system. This is my last suggestion. It is the conclusion of my talk. I know that it could be seen as just a simplified way to describe the international disorder, but I want just to stress the fact that first of all, what we see is not simply the responsibility of a crazy policymaker based in the United States or based in Russia or in Ukraine, as you prefer. It is a global tendency that has roots in the material production and relationship. In order to avoid this tendency to conflict worldwide, we need to stop. We need to overcome the time of Aras towards the time of Pan, the time in which we see our trauma and we take care of ourselves in order to rebuild our rules, our institutions, and in a capitalist system of production, money is the first institutions. Thank you very much for your attention.